YouTube, what's good, man? It's been a while. I'm sorry, I know I said that last time, but I've been living my adult life. I say that as I just moved into my parents' house. I'm still getting settled in. Then, of course, I got Fighter, and it's an ever-evolving thing. I got some other things I'm trying to do in life as well. So these things just take time and my attention. I edit these videos myself. Of course, I film these videos myself. So it's a lot of work to be trying to do all these things at the same time. I got to be honest with you. This is my favorite video of the series thus far. A very good, healthy insight on how I see the brand, on how I maneuver through the brand, and just some personal things I've dealt with in my life, how it's led me here. Usually when I edit these videos, I like to edit them and be done with them. I've watched this video 2 to 3 times just because of how rich the content is. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Big announcement at the end of the video. I'm so happy to share. I'm done yapping. Please enjoy this video. Share it, like it, comment on it. Without further ado, here you go. Today is January 5th. How you doing? I don't remember. I think the last time we talked, I was in Italy or on my way back. I'm back. I've been back for a few days. It's been a lot, man. It's been a lot. I was working on the media stuff and the boys kicking my tail. Something interesting happened. I was on social media and on my reels, my reel feed, there's a clothing brand owner who is like all the hours you put in and all that comes out of all the time and the effort that you put in is your product and being able to sell that product. But there's so many things you do behind the scenes that nobody will ever know. But without all of that effort, none of the other stuff is ever possible. And that made me think a lot about being an athlete. You know how many times I had to wake up at 4:30, not because I had to be up that early, but because I had to be up that early. Because I know how my body operates. I know mentally how I like to operate, and I want to be the best version of myself when it's time. And so if I have a 6 o'clock workout, I'm up at 4:30. Because I have to do what is necessary for me to perform at the level that I'm trying to perform at. And so all those 4:30 a.m.s, all those treatment sessions, all the rehab sessions, all the staying extra hours with your teammates or the coaches to go over film, how many nights I've stayed up late just going over plays, reviewing scripts and stuff like that, all for a span of plays and an even smaller span of those plays that you maybe get to make a play. You have the opportunity to showcase a fraction of all that you are. And that's how I see this. As interesting as that may sound, I put in so much, and it's like all of this stuff is my training camp or my practice days. And then when I finally get something to put out, that's my game day. And that furthers my point in why I should enjoy the process of this, what I'm doing now, because the game day is only a sliver of the time that I'm spending. So if I don't enjoy all of this stuff, goodness great. And what's interesting about that is I was thinking the other day and just, kind of briefly reflecting on my life and, how I feel about things and things of that nature. And I realized, what I'm doing right now, I've found a passion. I am passionate about this. I love this. I love this grind. As hard as it may be sometimes, I love this grind. I love this. But it's not my purpose. I know what my purpose is. I know why God put me here on this earth. And as passionate as I am about this, I can't let that overshadow my purpose. I just thought that was interesting because, I have so many dreams and aspirations and things and possibilities. It's truly like when you get to watch your favorite fighter fight. You watch him fight for the 25 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is, 36 minutes, and what you see him do in the ring or the octagon or the mat, whatever, that is a portion of just who he was all that training camp. That's like 8%. Even the fighter who loses that night, that is a fraction of who, not who he is as a fighter, because he's even more capable as a fighter, but how hard you work and all the tools you put in your bag and you possess in a training camp, only to go out there in the match is a set. There's only so many scenarios that are going to happen in a fight. So you're not gonna get to display all that you're capable of, you know? And I just hope for me, like, my purpose, that one has to be, that's a pillar, you know? I gotta work my best opportunity, play my best hand at that. But as far as the other things, I have so many dreams and abilities. I want to be able to stretch my hands and touch as many of them as possible, or put my best foot forward on them. Something that I briefly touched on before, but I didn't have the right words to fully articulate what I was trying to say. This brand is so special. It's so special. And one of the reasons why I'm so confident, you know, I've learned to have this confidence about it is, brother, there's not something like this that exists, you know? It's bigger than clothing, and that's why I want to scale it to something that's a brand, that's something, you know, it's more than a brand even. It's a movement, it's a lifestyle, it's a mentality. Fighter is, you know, you can't box it because it's that powerful, and it truly is. I believe that 100%. One of the things, you know, I had a little bit of anxiety about is, you know, I don't know which direction to do this and to do that. And the truth is, it's so crazy. It's so crazy how things come together. But the brand evolves kind of on its own, you know? And it's strange because another thing I wanted to talk to you about is, like, Fighter's my baby. And I promise I didn't plan for those two to align like that, but Fighter is my child, I feel like, you know. I don't have kids, but this is my baby, you know. Born in Texas, you know. And the reason I wanted to talk about that tonight is I'm here in Texas, I have another year of school, and I don't know where I'm gonna be or what I'm gonna do after that. And even like in the meantime, you know, I don't know if I wanna move around Texas a little bit or move out of Texas, period. I just don't know. But what I do know is you have a child, you know, you want to move when you have this growing child, like starting schools, making friends. Even then, like, you having a baby is a lot. Moving with a baby is, you feel me? Like, so I just think it's cool that the brand evolves over time, like, because I was worried about that. Like, I don't know what this should look like. I don't know what this should feel like, or what I should do about this. But as time moves forward and I get closer to these events and these things, like, they kind of happen on their own almost. And it's really like a kid, like a human being. I don't know, it's strange. It is really strange, but it's a cool thing to witness, to know that I had that anxiety and it just works itself out. Since we're kind of around that topic, I have a friend, a homeboy, and me and him talk a lot about just the clothing industry in general. You know, he has some things that he's working on. Obviously, you know, I have the brand. It's strange because there are a lot of times, like, just randomly in my mind, it'll pop up, like, and I love these people who I'm about to speak of. There's no shade to them at all. Many, you know, I love their ambitions and what they were trying to do, but I'm trying to make a point. I had people who I know who also play football, or sports in general, you know, it seemed, I don't know if it's easy or what. I was already working on Fighter, so I can't speak for anybody else, but I was working on Fighter before I stopped playing. But when other people stopped playing, they tried their hand at clothing brand, and it didn't manifest for them the way I think they were hoping for. And sometimes like a dark cloud will pass over me, and it's like, well, what makes you different? You're a football player, you're trying to pivot to a clothing brand. Like, why was yours gonna be successful? And immediately the quick answer every time is, I am different. This brand is different. And this may be a little naive, and I'm okay with that, but here's what I do know at the end of the day. When it came to my profession and my lane and what I did, there was nobody who I felt in all the time that I played in the teams that I've been on. I feel like there was nobody that's passionate, had as much pride in what they did as much as me. Those people may disagree, but I know what I put in, what I expected from it because of what I put in. I say that same thing and it circles back to fighter. I know what I put in. I know what I have. I can't speak on what those other people's brands were, but I know what mine is built on. I know the meaning behind it and what we're trying to push. And I know that it's something special. It's not regular. Again, no disrespect to them. The truth is, and I hesitate to say some things because a lot of what I say can sometimes be misconstrued, or it can be, sometimes I don't say things in the best way that's digestible for people. But what I do know is, ever since I've been a child, I kid you not, I just knew, like, something just felt different. Like, I always just felt it. It was like my eyes, like if a child's eye was like this, mine was just like this. Like, certain situations just kind of happen, certain conversations with people, certain people showing up, my experience was just cultivated. And I firmly believe that I am chosen, I am set apart, I am called. I'm not saying that fighter is gonna be great because I'm chosen. What I'm saying is, I know that from the time I've been conscious enough to be aware and make decisions and understand what's going on, etc. I understand that my path is different than most. And what I understand now and have understood for a little bit is the reason for that is it is not by chance. God orchestrated my path to be like that. This part is what I feel like, it can be, taken however, you choose to perceive it. But I think when I say what I'm about to say, it could be perceived as, oh, he's just bitter about how his situation played out, whatever, okay. But from my angle, my perspective on it is, I feel like I had all the tools to be, I'm not even gonna say that, I was an amazing football player. I was talented. And when it got to the end of my career, past 2 years, 2 seasons, maybe 2.5, I kind of understood that the world that I existed in, as far as football and sports, I'm very different from what's around me and what's going on. I'm very, this is not who I am. This is not, I don't like this, And again, not speaking on anybody or putting anybody down. I'm just saying, as far as the culture and society as a whole, I just knew that that wasn't me. And, when my career came to an end, I saw even more so, like, I'm happy to have the experiences I've had, but I'm thankful, and I'm thankful that it's over, I'm out of it, because if I would have been everything I wanted to be, as far as my career in football, I truly do not feel as if, let me rephrase that, in order for me to fulfill God's plans for my life, that was not in His plan. That was not the pathway to get it done. I truly believe, like, being in that world versus whatever path I'm on, however it shapes out, I know that I'm destined for something special, for something greater than myself. I know that football and having my success there, or what I would have perceived to be my success, it would not have equated to what or who I could be outside of that world. So I truly believe that the time just came to an end when it was supposed to. because I had learned and done everything that from the time that I was 4 years old, from the time I was still a sperm wiggling around. I had done everything, learned everything that I was supposed to get out of my football life. It was time for me to maneuver. And this is as much as I think for my life personally, it was necessary that I went the football route. I think it's necessary that I'm doing this, and I don't know what this will turn into or where this will rotate towards, but it's like laying down groundwork. I lay down the foundation, I build on that, then I build on that. Before you know it, I'm at the roof. And that takes time, and that takes, a lot of effort, a lot of work, but what I'm saying is, I know that for my brand, what I believe in, the playing field that God has set out for me, it will be special. It will be. And another thing I've been reflecting on is, I brought it to you before, I don't know what success is for myself inside of the brand. I don't know what that looks like. The other day, I finally figured it out. Success to me is producing. If I can execute, if I can take my ideas and execute, if I could set goals and guidelines and execute, that's success. And those goals for me, they aren't, maybe they'll change, I'm sure, because once you achieve, your goals have to evolve. But, they're not contingent upon, I guess, societal, what society sees or how they feel about my brand. It's internal. If I had to give an example, I'd say the design that I create. If I can bring that to life and be able to put that out right there, that's success for me. And then, say I'm able to replicate that, and that's continued success. That's in the bank, I'm good. And that will be something that is a continuous task. Like I will always be able to have that goal. And one thing I learned from my pops is, when you have dreams or goals like, I want to get to the NFL, okay, that's fair. What are your short-term goals? What are your goals to get to that goal? And I would then make goals to get my designs executed properly, and so on and so forth. The whole reason I brought my homeboy up in the first place, because I was saying that, I have my brain working on a couple things. There's been a few times we talked about our classmates, and what they're doing and accomplishing. Let me be honest, it's some cool stuff. I'm not in those households, I'm not in those rooms. I don't know the whole story of what's going on, but from the outside looking in, I said, dang, that looks pretty cool or pretty good. The more I thought about it, because I used to do this a lot with football, and there's never jealousy attached. But it was like, dang, or even like you'd see a soccer player, 17 pro, 19 years old, 21 years old, and an NBA pro. It's like, dang, I know I'm that good. I know I'm good enough. It's funny because every time we talk about it, I never feel jealousy or rushed. But if you would have asked, a 22 or a 21-year-old version of ourselves, I would feel like life is passing me up because, these guys, they're already have maneuvered and matured into their adult life and they're hitting milestones. It's like, ooh, like I said, we gotta catch up. But, this time around, when we were talking about it, I just kind of felt like, that's good, that's amazing. I'm happy for them, that's cool. And I just understood that, what I'm doing, it's a slow cook, as my friend AG would put it. It's a process. Greatness takes time. I really felt that in my spirit. And the reason I could never be jealous is, those things that they're doing, and they put the work in for it. They put the time in for that. And at the end of the day, that's what God has for them. Nobody can get that because it's set apart for them. And I feel the same way about me. What I have and what I will achieve in life, the struggles I will face in life, there is a strong structure that nobody could get around or inside, because God made it for Marcellus Sakai Crutchfield. That's for him, that's for myself. So only I will be able to get that. It will be some great things. So, why should I want what anybody else has? I didn't put the work in for that stuff. But I am putting the work in for this. God didn't set that for me, but He is setting stuff up for this, for me, for my future, for me, that nobody else can have. So there's no reason to be, to feel any type of way about it. I felt like that was important to speak on. I'm releasing soon, man. Oof, good job. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think I set it for the 22nd. This store will open. This will be the preliminary drop I was telling you about. But again, I had this much time. I got this much time. It's getting closer and closer. I couldn't be happier with where we are and what we're doing. I just feel overwhelmed with confidence. I know what I have. No matter what happens, how many people were supported or not, I know what I have. If you told the owner of Louis Vuitton, bro, that's trash, or nobody bought his stuff, you think I would have stopped him? Bro, I got Louis Vuitton. I'm Louis Vuitton. I design this and that. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. And even with my competition, my competition is, streetwear brands. But, who I look at is the big dogs: Hermes, Burberry, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. I'm chasing them, and I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. Another thing I find interesting is that, I do so much research on, these things I like, and it's always these brands that have been established. There's one brand that's, they just had their 100-year anniversary. I only know that because I just did some shopping with them. Brands who've been alive for, 7 of my lifetimes. And I'm trying to model and replicate some of the things that they're able to do. And sometimes I forget, Sel, we haven't even sold our first product yet. We're still, but I just have that drive, that ambition, that's what I'm chasing after. I guess if I was to put it in music terms, I'm chasing the Drakes, the Jay-Z's, the Biggies, Pops. That's who I'm not concerned, no disrespect. I'm not concerned with, and I love Roddy Ricch, but I'm not concerned with Roddy Ricch. I'm not concerned. I can't say his name, because then if I say other rappers, then I'll be putting them in the same category. I love Roddy Ricch, and I'm waiting for his new album, man, and push it back 19 times. But I'm not concerned with, and I say statistically, I'm not concerned with rappers in that category, who not selling a million units. That's how I see it. Obviously I'm not there yet. I got a ways I have to build that, but that's my mentality. You feel me? It's been a good chat. We talked forever. I still got a lot to talk about, but we'll say that for another time. I'm not going nowhere. So we'll do it again soon. But I love you. Thank you for being part of this. I can't wait. Every time we get closer, everything evolves and grows much greater, man. I'm just so thankful to myself, thankful for myself, thankful to God, and thankful to you in making this thing, as fun as it is, or has been. We'll talk soon, and remember, keep fighting. I told you that episode was good. So huge news. My first piece coming August 6th, this Thursday. If you're signed up for the VIP release, that's at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're not, well, you still have time. Go sign up on our website, enter your email, and that will sign you up for the VIP release. In the event that doesn't happen, the release is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, August 6th. I'm very excited. This has been such a process, such a fun process. I'm happy to be able to finally share with you guys. You guys, more than anyone, you've seen the journey, you've seen the stories, ins and outs. Now I want you to be able to enjoy the fruits, enjoy this amazing art. It's crazy how I was getting ready for the preliminary drop in that episode. Now in real time, I'm getting ready for my first round of my first collection. And that's it, man. I really put a ton of work into these things. So if nothing else, just show me some love. Show me you appreciate what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. If you don't, show me that you don't. Let me know, let me hear it so I can produce more stuff, so I can produce better stuff for you guys. Thank you. I love you. Keep fighting.